Hello, today I will present my aligned formative and summative assessments presentation. The first slide is about characteristics of formative assessments and their purposes in supporting and demonstrating learning. So what are formative assessments? They are continuous, informal tools used during the learning process to track student progress and comprehension. They offer immediate feedback which help teachers modify their instruction, and they also enable students to recognize areas where they need improvement. The characteristics of these assessments are they occur during the learning process, not at the end. They provide feedback that can guide future instruction, and they focus on student progress and development. Examples of formative assessments are classroom discussions. Informal discussions during class can help teachers assess how well the students grasp concepts and provide opportunities for clarification before moving on. The next slide is characteristics of summative assessments and their purposes in supporting and demonstrating learning. Summative assessments are formal evaluations which are usually given after a unit, semester, or course to assess students' overall learning and performance. The characteristics of summative assessments are they are administered at the end of a learning period or unit. They are used to evaluate overall achievement or mastery of content, and they summarize student learning and achievement. An example of a summative assessment is final exams. These tests assess a student's overall understanding of a course's material. Or end-of-unit projects, a major project that requires students to apply what they've learned throughout the unit, and it allows them to demonstrate their ability to synthesize and showcase their understanding. One advantage and one barrier when using technology to support each type of assessment. So for formative assessments, an advantage is immediate feedback. Tools like online quizzes or apps like Kahoot can instantly show students what they have right or wrong. It allows them to correct misconceptions soon after taking the assessment. This will help teachers and students understand areas that need improvement before moving on to new material. A barrier when using technology for formative assessments is accessibility, because not everybody has access to devices or internet at home. The next slide is one advantage and one barrier when using technology to support each type of assessment, but this time it's for summative assessments. An advantage of using technology for summative assessments is efficiency and scalability. For example, online tests can be automatically graded, and they will save teachers time on administrative tasks and allow them to focus more on analyzing the results. A barrier when using technology for summative assessments is the potential for technical issues. Problems like internet connectivity or device malfunctions can interrupt the assessment process. The importance of having assessments aligned to objectives. They improve teaching effectiveness. They support clear expectations, and they measure intended learning outcomes. How teachers can ensure why they are aligned is by developing clear rubrics or assessment criteria that outlines how the objectives will be measured. How data gathered from each type of assessment can be used to support learning and guide instructional decisions. For formative assessments, the data gathered from formative assessments provides a real-time feedback on student understanding. It allows teachers to identify gaps in knowledge or areas where students are struggling. This allows for timely interventions and adjustments to instruction, helping ensure that students don't fall behind. For example, if a teacher uses an exit ticket and notices that many students struggle with a specific concept, they can quickly revisit that topic in the next lesson. An example is a teacher who notices through a formative assessment, like a quick quiz or classroom discussion, that students are struggling with a math concept can immediately provide additional practice problems or alternative explanations before moving forward to more advanced topics. Summative assessments, which occur at the end of a unit or term, provide a broader view of student learning. An example is after reviewing the results of a unit test, a teacher might identify that students excelled in one area but consistently struggled with another. This insight will allow them to revisit that specific content and adjust their teaching to the next cohort of students. discussing the importance of teachers being data literate and how this skill can be used in the lesson planning process. It helps to track student progress and identifying learning gaps and setting targeted goals. How data from formative and summative assessments should be communicated to students and parents. Formative assessment data should be communicated promptly so students can reflect on their progress. Immediate feedback helps them identify strengths and areas for improvement. After summative assessments, teachers should provide detailed feedback on what the student did well and where they can improve. This will help students understand the fulfillment of their learning and how they can apply this knowledge in the future tasks. This should be communicated clearly to parents, especially since they often factor into final grades. One example of a technology tool that can be used to communicate assessments in a way that promotes student success and self-direction. Google Classroom. It can be used to share the results of formative assessments like quizzes, assignments, and class discussions with students and parents. How formative assessment aligns with the standard and learning objective. So the standard I chose was the 4th grade RL.9. Compare and contrast a first-hand and second-hand account of the same event or topic. Describe the differences in focus and the information provided. And the learning objective is, by the end of this lesson, students will be able to compare and contrast a first-hand account and a second-hand account of the same event or topic, identifying the differences in focus and the type of information provided. For formative assessment, the assessment type is think, pair, share activity. So after reading a first-hand account, such as a diary entry, and a second-hand account, such as a newspaper article, students will work in pairs to compare and contrast the two accounts. The alignment with the standard and learning objective is that they are asked to compare a first-hand and second-hand account of the same event. For the summative assessment, the assessment type is a written response or a test question. The description of this is students will be given a passage that includes a first-hand and second-hand account of the same event, such as a historical event. Students will be asked to write a short response comparing and contrasting the two accounts, describing the differences in the focus and type of information provided. How does this assessment align with the standard and learning objective? This summative assessment directly tests students' ability to meet this by requiring them to compare and contrast both accounts. It assesses their understanding of the differences in perspective, focus, and the type of information presented. By writing a response, students demonstrate their mastery of the learning objective and their ability to articulate their understanding clearly. And these are my resources. Thank you so much for watching my video.